Hello, Pastor Luis.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am blessed. I'm doing great today.
I'm. I'm. s- I want to say first of all, thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy. You're the pastor of Conexion Church.
That's right.
You're a sales consultant.
That's right.
I just heard that you're going to school.
I'm working to getting my master's. So
Oh, okay. And then, of course, you're also a family man.
yeah,
How do you have time for all that?
you have to prioritize.
Okay.
Um, Always, it's my family first.
Right.
My wife, my daughter. The boys are older, so it's easier with them. But my 3-year-old demands a lot of time.
Yes.
She demands, and you have a small daughter, so it's just about prioritizing. And I don't. Sometimes it's I have so much work, so much school, so much with the church that I have to wait a lot of times to do things on my own time. So I sleep pretty late every night, but there's sacrifices you got to do.
How many hours do you think you get of sleep?
I, you know what, my mornings don't start early
Mm-hmm.
because of my work, so I get about 6 to 7, so
Okay.
I do good.
And are you able to just sleep through the night, or are you those like sensitive
I
sleepers?
sleep like a baby. I'm so tired that I sleep like a baby.
mm,
Yeah, I've never had that issue.
that's kind of good to know that you kind of you tire yourself out, so that way when you get to
Yes.
bed, you just collapse.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, once I hit the bed, I usually put on my headphones to listen to something, and I'm out. I hardly ever listen to anything because I'm so tired.
And what helped you kind of get that mentality to where I have all these things and I need to learn a way to prioritize them?
Well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a former Marine. So, I mean, that was oh my God, that was a long time ago. 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
30 years ago, when I joined the Marine Corps, uh, it was embedded into my head, to my brain, that hey, there are things that have more importance, that you have to get those done first. That doesn't mean
Mm.
that you forget about the rest. That just means that you get these things done first. So I'll give you an example. I have so much homework to do because my computer broke 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
So I lost everything. I lost my homework. I lost work stuff. I lost church stuff. So for the past 2 weeks, I've been trying to get everything back. On top of that, I had to travel last week, so I was gone all week. And so this week, I'm like, okay, I don't have enough time to get it all done unless I kind of merge things together. So I asked my wife, hey, do you want to watch TV in my office? So the baby and my wife and my youngest were watching TV all week in my office with me. That way, I knew I wasn't avoiding them. I was with them. Kind of got to see a little TV, and I still kept working on my things. So there's always time. We all have 24 hours in a day, and it's just a matter of saying, okay, this has to get done right away. This doesn't, and just getting it all done. And some things don't get done, but it's the less important things, and we work on those.
Right. That's a bit of also self discipline because you have to for yourself to do it because I mean
Correct.
distractions are always there.
Always. And you hit it right on the button, right there, because it's discipline. If you're not disciplined, you're not going to accomplish anything. You need to be disciplined in this life if you're gonna reach your goals. Um, my business goals, for example. So I work in sales, so it's a business within a business. So I determine how much I make. So by that, I need to make time and visits and phone calls and emails. This is something constant. So I've gotten to the point where I can get it done and be content with the fact that I've given it my best every month. Every month you start at zero when you're in sales. So and this is where my family lives from. This is the church doesn't pay me, so this is my only source of income. So I have to make this work. And the discipline that I've acquired allows me to be able to live freely, be able to pastor as well as work full time, and be able to be a family man at the same time.
Where do you think you acquire the best out of your disciplines? Where is that also from a mentality that you kind of embedded from the Marine Corps?
Yes, and having the right people around you is also
Mm.
key. So I've had a lot of good mentors to where they've given me instruction on how or what not to do. And I've had a lot of people. I can't say a lot, about 3 4 people in my life that have guided me along the way. That I was able to take some of their wisdom and implement it into my life, and it has shaped me into the person that I am. And I'll give you a perfect example. When I left the Marine Corps, I was still young. I really had no direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to school, but I just wasn't doing it. So I started working with a friend of mine, doing remodeling. So a few months went by, and I started getting comfortable. Started getting paid and getting comfortable, learning a trade. And one day he tells me, "You know what? I'm going to fire you." I'm like, "What do you mean you're going to fire me? You're my friend. You can't fire me." He's like, "Because I'm your friend, I'm going to fire you." He's like, "If I don't fire you, you're never going to go to school. If I don't fire you, you're not going to push yourself. So I'm going to fire you next week." Next week came in Friday, hands me my check, hands me my severance check, says, "That's it. You're fired."
Wow.
I didn't believe him. I didn't believe him until I saw the check. And yeah, it was a severance check. He's like, "That's to help you enroll in school." And I'll be eternally grateful to him because he taught me a lesson about, look, if you get comfortable, complacent, you might not accomplish the things that you have set in your mind. Things, you have to work at things. Things aren't handed to you. You need to work and work hard. And so I've had some people ask me, especially like in church, "How do you do it? How do you, where do you get the energy from?" And I'm like, "Well, I know what I want to accomplish. I know what God has called me to do. And I know that He has given me all the abilities that I need to get those things accomplished. It's just a matter of me getting it done." So it's as simple as that, really.
And that's all on you, right? You
It's on
can't.
me.
Yeah, nobody's doing these things that you have to do in order to accomplish your goals. You have to do them.
Correct.
Either you do them or they never get done.
Correct. Now, there's a lot to be said for allowing other people to grow in the process, and I try to do that. I try to enable leaders so that they can grow, so that they can lift themselves up as well. I can't do it all on my own. It would be foolish of me to think that I can, and it would be foolish of me to try. And I don't believe in being foolish. So, um, I've got leaders. I've got, as you know, I've got several key leaders, and then below them there's more leaders like yourself, and it brings me so much happiness to see people developing and growing, because that's what somebody did with me. Somebody allowed me to be able to do something. They were never selfish, and I never try to be selfish because I know that the greatest thing I can see is somebody else succeed because I gave them a shot, because I believe in them. And every single person that is around me, I believe in them, and I don't believe in failure.
Hmm. And that's one of the important things, right? That you have to be around the right environment, and that's one of the reasons why I continue to go, or we continue to go to Connection Church, because the environment is such a positive environment that it's why would you even leave from there?
Yeah.
And you have all these people that are there to guide you and to learn from, and it's sad that some people don't have that environment or
Yeah.
don't go into that community to where they can uplift themselves up.
Yeah, it's sad, and as the pastor, I analyze things. I analyze everything, and I analyze, and I try to analyze people that won't commit to joining the group, or being part, really being part. And at the end of the day, it's everybody has their own choice. Everybody decides what they want to do. Everybody decides what they want to believe. And my job as a pastor is to be as transparent as possible, so that people can see that my intentions are purely and solely to get people to know Jesus, and that I will do anything in my power and my abilities to help them grow. I mean, that's as much as I can do. I can't do much more than that, because everybody has their free will. And I truly believe that that model will get us to a point where there's going to be so many people that are going to come to know and follow Jesus, because we're going to maintain true. We're going to maintain true to that. Our commitment is to Christ, to God. Our commitment is to Him. So that's a pretty big commitment
Mm-hmm.
to the Creator of everything.
Right.
So, and we believe it. We believe wholeheartedly that He is behind us 100%, and that's the drive. God's with us. So, I mean, yeah, there's stumbles, yeah, there's falls, but hey, all you do is just get up, dust off, and you keep going.
That's one of the things that we noticed, moving here to Texas from California is
Well, that's
that
a blessing in itself. Know
yeah,
that. Okay, just saying.
that also that here religion is a big part of Texas, which is great. And um, in California, it is, but not so much. And I feel like because even from the church that we were at in
Hmm.
California, we had told our pastor there that we were moving to Texas, and some of the people that were there were like, "Well, tell them that not to move, tell them to stay here in California." And he's like, "No, you're going to a better place. Texas is a big, faithful state, and
Hmm.
you're gonna love it. Just
Yeah,
enjoy it."
and it is, and that's one of the reasons that I will probably never leave Texas. I've traveled around the world. I've been to Hawaii, Japan, lived in the West Coast, East Coast, and there's no place like home. There is no place like home because of the values, because of the beliefs
Hmm.
that we just live around them, and that helps, especially in this world that's so fragmented right now. Um, we need to hold on to something. We need to truly believe in something that's tangible, something that will really yield um, the trust, the I don't even know how to express it. I see this world and I'm so saddened by it. Um, in the 30-minute drive that it took me to get here, I had to shut off the radio. I had to shut off the
No,
radio.
too much.
It was too much, and I'm like, God, I'd rather talk to you. So I just started praying and talking to God and saying, Lord, just help us become better people and treat everybody the same. And just allow us to really let this country be what it's supposed to be. So it's a good place to live in Texas.
And you know what I appreciate when through Facebook or through Instagram, there's all these people posting political things about the whole pandemic and everything, and but you on the other hand are not posting anything of that. You're posting is nothing but positive energy.
Eh, I mean, there's so much negative stuff out there. Why would we want to
Yeah.
stoop down to that level and do the same thing? I have the greatest job in the world, and that's being a pastor. Might not be the easiest,
Hmm.
but it is the greatest because I get to see people accept Christ, and once we're in heaven, I know that God's going to be like, look, all these people came because you were faithful, and that's going to be the greatest reward I could ever receive. So if I was to post negative stuff, what would I be doing? I would just be fueling the negativity in this world, and I'm not about to do that. I'm here to help people understand that not everything is negative. Not everything is bad. Not every person is bad. That's a misconception. I don't fall into that hole, and I never will. Never have, never will. There's too much negativity, and I refuse. I refuse.
So how is the life of a pastor in the sales side?
It's pretty awesome. I don't normally tell my customers that I'm a pastor. I'm there to sell, and I have a lot of customers that are of other faiths, other religions, and I respect that. And but it's so awesome when they're like, "There's something different about you. You're not your traditional salesperson." And I'm like, "I'm glad you said that. Let me tell you why." If they open the door, I'm gonna walk in. So I respect people, and every opportunity I get, I will share my faith with them. That's what I'm called to do. Um, it's it's very easy for me because traditionally salespeople don't have a good uh, what's it called? Suppose salespeople aren't always the most honest.
Mm,
Let's put it that
yeah.
way.
Okay.
Um, I live by honesty. I live by. I know who my boss is. My boss is not somebody who writes a check over in Colorado. My boss is upstairs.
Mm.
He's my ultimate boss. So everything I do it based on that, and it has served me well. I just last month was my 5 year anniversary with this company, and I truly believe that it's God that put me here, and it's God that is the one that blesses me with with the customers that I have, and it's great. I have had some customers tell me,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, I want to go to your church," and I'm like, "I only preach in Spanish," and they're like, "Oh, okay," um, but we might be changing that pretty soon. So
And that's very important, right? That even though you believe in a certain type, you also respect others.
I do.
Because in a way, you kind of lead by example. You know, if maybe if out of curiosity, like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go check out and see what they believe in, and you never know, you know, they might be willing to convert or whatever,
Yeah.
but because they have that idea of you that you're being open to it, you're being respectful, and you know you share this positive attitude that kind of everybody sees.
So it's like this. I know I believe in the truth. I mean, that's a given, right? Um, and I've said this many times at church. I said we need to be el quinto evangelio, that fifth gospel. And I hope some of the listeners are like, fifth gospel. There's only four: Mark, Matthew, Luke. Mark, Matthew, Luke, John. Um, well, I always say there's the fifth one, and you are that fifth one.
Mm.
If you want people to really um, grasp and come into the Christ family, you need to live it. They're not going to open the Bible, but they will look at you all day long. They will
Mm.
look at your actions. They will look at how you react, how you talk. I'll be honest, there's some people that it'd be hard for people to believe that they're Christians based on their actions, based on how they talk, based on what they do. And all that does is keeps people away from the truth. So in my life, I try to live it as best as possible. Am I perfect? No. But I try. I try because my God is perfect. So I have to, that's my goal is to get to him and know him and experience him and get somebody else to know him and experience him the way that I have.
So what came first? Was it the sales consultant or
I was
the
gonna. I thought you were gonna say the egg or the chicken, and I was gonna say no. I don't know. I know the egg always thinks he's better than the chicken, though. What came for the? What was your question?
what came first, the sales consultant or the pastor?
You know, I have always worked in some type of sales after college, so I'd say the sales consultant. Um, the pastor was always in me. The pastor was always in me when I was very, very young, 8, 9 years old. I used to live in El Paso, downtown El Paso, and there was a big cathedral, Catholic cathedral, and my parents, my mom, and they raised me Catholic. I am obviously not Catholic anymore, but I had such a deep love and admiration for God that I would go myself to the cathedral. I'd walk down. It was straight down. It was a long walk. Um, Back then, kids were allowed to do that, not
Right.
anymore.
Yes.
Um, and I, I wanted to be a priest. I wanted to be a priest at that young age. I knew that I wanted to be a priest. And then I saw this pretty girl, and I'm like, oh, never mind. I can't be a priest.
Mm.
But that desire to seek God was always there. And even in the midst of growing up, I grew up. I had a rough childhood, not because my household was bad. It was because I made bad choices.
Mm.
Even in the midst of that, I always knew that God was with me. And when I finally surrendered my life to God at the age of 30, um, I finally understood that God had been calling me for years and years and years because he had a purpose and a plan for me. And here's the thing. God has a plan and a purpose for everybody. you need to embrace it and you need to accept it. Because if you don't, I mean, it's a plan is just a plan, and nothing will come of it unless you go and actually do it. So
And both really require to a lot of involvement with other people. Were
yes,
you always comfortable talking to a big crowd of people?
you know, I can't say that I'm comfortable right now, so I can't even say that. Um, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. That I really don't feel comfortable. Even right now, I feel uh, it's a little overwhelming when I'm talking to a large group of investors or owners of companies. It's intimidating because all these guys have big business degrees, and I'm like, well, I don't have one of those. I got theology degrees, but as soon as I start talking, I know my products. I know what I'm selling. When I got this job, my boss told me before he hired me, he's like, "Do you think you can do this job?" And I'm like, "If the product does what you say it does, I can sell it. I will never sell something I don't believe in." And 5 years later, I still believe in the product because I know it does what it's supposed to do. And that helps me because once I start talking, it's no longer the group, it's just me and my product, and I'm presenting it. When it comes to church, I always get nervous. I always get goosebumps. I always feel the butterflies in my stomach because that's even bigger because I'm about to represent the creator of the world. And I'm about to present his word and explain it in a way that somebody's going to realize, hey, I need God. So that's a big pressure, but I get over it as soon as I start talking because I understand that it's not me, it's not my word, it's not anything of mine. Everything belongs to Him, and I get over it.
Hmm. So it's very important to know what you're what you're pretty much what you're selling, right?
Correct.
And you gotta kind of like what you said, you gotta believe in it and you gotta know it. And then once you've achieved that, then you feel more comfortable presenting it to others.
Correct. Yeah.
But that feeling never goes away.
It never does, and I don't think that's a bad thing
Hmm.
because I think it always keeps you on your toes. I think it. I think I'm addicted to it, honestly, because whenever I have a big meeting and I feel those nerves, I feel like I do a better presentation than I do if I feel all comfortable. So I think it's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, and it keeps me more focused on what it is that I need to present.
Yeah, because sometimes if you're presenting it and if you get comfortable, then that's when you start just rambling about everything. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and I love to say it's never happened, but it has, and that's why I don't like that. I don't like being comfortable. I like knowing everything that I know, and I love being able to present it in a way that's clear, concise, and to the point. But I never want to be so comfortable that I start missing those points, that I stop presenting those things, and it doesn't matter if it's for the church or if it's for work. I never want to be complacent in anything that I do. I always want to give my best. Sometimes when we get too comfortable, we don't give our best because we're already comfortable.
And it's just a matter of also repetition, right? As long as you do it once, just keep on doing it till eventually you build it in yourself and you know that you're just doing it just because.
Correct. Yeah. And it's funny the way things have worked for me. So when I got this job, my boss trained me. It was on a Wednesday and Thursday, and I'd never in my life even seen one of these things. And he says, I have to go out of town Friday and on all of next week. He's like, can you go out and sell this product by Monday? And I'm like, yes. I'm not a shy person. So I'm like, yes, I can do it. So I was put in the hardest street in Arlington. I sell devices to car dealers. Uh, I won't say what, but that's why I sell devices to car dealers. So they put me in the hardest street, which is Division Street in Arlington, and it's hard just because it's a hard market there.
Mm.
And I didn't sell anything. So I wish I could tell you I did, but I did not sell anything. And but here's the thing that I did it, and what I did from those 2 days of training, that was enough for me to just sit down and just go and learn and learn and learn. The first time I preached, my pastor, and I love my pastor, Lorenzo Tovar, he's now retired. Um, he's like, Brother Luis, he's the calmest person in the world. I love this man. He never spoke without thinking of what he was going to say.
Mm.
And he's like, I would like you to preach on Wednesday. And I'm like, yes. And then the fear set in because I had never preached in my life. I was brand new, and I preached, and I'm like, well, it's gonna be on a Wednesday, so it won't be that bad because there's not a lot of people that are gonna be there. There were people up to the front row that day, and I'm like, oh my God. And I got through it, and people are so sweet. They're like, that was awesome, that was amazing, and I'm like, these people really love me because that was not good. But they filled me. They deposited a positiveness into me, and 19 years later, here I am. I'm a pastor.
Wow.
So it's what you take. I take my studies very seriously. I don't get up there and say whatever. I study it, and I'm like, even if I know it, I still study it because I need to make sure that I stay centered in everything that I'm going to say, and it's going to be something that's going to be applicable to people's lives. Same thing with my job. I try to always know exactly what my customers are going to need, even if they don't know that they need it. Hey, this is what we're offering. And God's been really good and really faithful.
How do you deal with, or when you get rejections?
Rejections are a part of life. Rejections aren't bad. And if there's one thing I've learned, and at work when people tell me, "Oh no, I'm not interested," I always leave my cards. Hey, if at one point you are interested, or if you ever need, even if it's about your company, my competitor, and if you need some help, call me. And I'd say that I've got about 40 customers that at one point told me no, that eventually called me and said, "Hey, okay,
Really?
we're going to try you out." And I don't believe in I don't believe in selling something to somebody and forgetting about them. I believe in building a relationship, a business relationship. So I try very hard to provide them the best service possible, even if it's somebody that buys once a month a couple of devices, or if it's somebody that buys 400 devices every month. They're just as important. And the same thing in church. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to tell us no, and there's a lot of people that tell us no. And all I ask is that what I preach, if I'll ask God is let that just soak in them, so that maybe down the road they'll either find a church or come back to us and say, you know what, I'm ready. It doesn't matter if it's with us. It doesn't matter because it's not about us. It matters that they come to know and follow Jesus.
Mm. Now that you're putting everything, now I see how the kind of your career and the pastor life coexist with one another, and because you're both constantly talking to people
Mm-hmm.
and you're dealing with rejections, but you still continue to pursue and sell what you believe in,
Exactly.
and somebody that would want to be a pastor one day, what would be a good way to kind of get in that environment?
Well, I say the first thing is don't rush it, but start reading the Bible. That's the main thing, and find somebody that's passionate about that, and just grab onto them and say, "Hey, help me." I'm always open. So whoever wants my help, I'm always open. I've had recently. I've had a young man tell me, "One day I want to be like you," and I'm like, "That's interesting because one day I want to be like him."
Mm.
I'm seeking him, and he's the one I'm following, but that's all right. I will help him follow God, and that's what it's about. We're here. We're not just consumers, and especially church is not just about being a consumer and just receive, receive, receive. We got to give. The purpose we were called for is to make disciples. That's our purpose. That's our main purpose. The Bible talks about Jesus from the beginning to end, but the purpose that he's given us is to make disciples because he died on that cross for everyone. Not everyone's going to go. Not everyone's going to accept. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you're in my position, but that doesn't stop me from doing the best that I can and getting other people behind me and so that I can help so that they can do what they have to do and make disciples.
And how do you read the Bible? Because there's some people out there that they know that it's a good thing to read the Bible, but sometimes it's hard to translate it or to even say it in modern times.
Yeah, and I'll say it right here. I'm not a believer in the the newer versions because a lot of times they're just not putting it all in there. Um, there's a lot of there's the Bible apps that are really good and funny. We're about to do a 21 days of prayer and fasting starting Monday, and we're going to be following a plan that's in the Bible app. The reason I did that is because I want it to be readily available to anyone. The Bible is not the easiest thing to read, but here's the bottom line: the hardest thing about the Bible is not opening it.
Mm.
That's the hardest thing. Um, when I first accepted Jesus, I read the Bible in 2 weeks. I read it in 2 weeks. Um, your question should be, did you understand it? And my answer is going to be no, no. Then I really started reading it. Then I started taking my time and letting it absorb. The main thing for me, and I think that for anybody, is just asking the Holy Spirit to just allow the words to come alive in you. Otherwise, it's just a book. Otherwise, it's just a book. You might as well read Moby Dick.
Mm.
You won't understand that one either. It's a big, oh, we'll just leave that one alone. There's some big books out there. But, you know, I think the I think the greatest help that I ever got, I went to Bible college right away, and I understood that it wasn't a religion. I understood that when you read the Bible, it's God's story to you, and
Mm.
sometimes the story is not nice. Sometimes there are things that are rough, but it's still the story, and it's about the story about God and the way we react towards Him and what we do. If you ask God to give you wisdom, He says He's going to give it to you. If you ask God to show you the way, He's going to show you the way. We just need to be patient and do it on God's terms and not ours. Um, there are so many help books out there. Not all of them are good, uh, but at least for whomever listens to this podcast, or to our congregation, they can always come to me, and I will do my best to get you guys to the next level. And and you've been with me for a while now, so you've noticed that the next level, we're going up on the next level.
Mm-hmm.
We're going up on the next level, and it's important because we can't stay at the same level. We can't stay in the same place. And it's the same when you're reading the Bible. If you start off in Genesis 1 and just you always stay in Genesis 1, well, it's like going to a hotel room, a fancy hotel room where you go in and you just go into that first chamber, and all it is a chair and the bathroom. You never go into the suite.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. We need to dive into it, and there's so much help. The Bible apps are really good, because a lot of them are short and concise, but they're really centered, and I really like those.
And that's one of the things that a lot of people kind of get confused with it. That I feel like a lot of people kind of don't want to dive into it because it's considered a religion. But you know, sometimes it's more than just a religion. It's getting to know Jesus and knowing to know God,
Hmm.
and just like what you said, reading the book, hearing His wisdom, and kind of implementing that into your life,
Correct.
right?
It's like anybody who's got a relationship. That that other person, you're not going to go into a relationship with them if you don't know them. And I'm gonna be very honest with you. A lot of times people don't want to go into that relationship, and they blame it. It's a religion, but a lot of times it's that they don't want to make a commitment.
Mm.
Okay, and I have enough years under my belt to have seen that, and to know that that's one of the greatest issues that we face in Christianity is people don't want to make a commitment. First, it's not a commitment; it's a commitment with God, and that's the highest commitment you could possibly make, right? And then it's a commitment with your church, and then it's a commitment with everybody around you, because we're in this to not, like I said, not, we're just not there to just receive. We're there to give as well, and we give of our time, our talents, our treasure. We give of everything, and it's not to receive a benefit here. Our treasures are in heaven. That's where our treasures are. That's where our goals should be, not just here. Here it's good, yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, but know that the treasures in heaven, that's where the real treasure is.
Is there any struggles in your life or your past experience that could that have helped you become a better sales consultant or a better pastor, or better human?
There is absolutely nothing that I consider to be worthless. What I mean by that is every struggle, every opposition, every single time somebody told me, no, you can't do that. No, you're not good enough. No,
Mm.
all that did was prove to me that I could. Because if a situation is in front of me, I just need got to find a way around it, above it, below it,
Mm.
some way. There is no opposition that cannot be overcome. And in my mind, I take that from the Marine Corps to sales to church to home. There is absolutely nothing that happens that doesn't have a purpose and that doesn't have something positive behind it. And some things are
Mm.
not going to be, some things can be painful. But know that you need to grow from everything. You need to learn from everything. Leave the bad, take the good, and keep going. That's the way I live my life.
In a way, a struggle is necessary
Yeah,
because of what's on the other side.
correct. It's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym and I'm not gonna, I should have not gone with the gym one, but if you go to the gym and you start just, you sit on the bench and you're going like this, but you don't even have a bar in your hands, what good is that gonna do you?
Mm.
It's that resistance
Yes,
that makes the muscle.
like pushback.
That's right. Um, in the church life, I receive a lot of pushback.
Mm.
I get a lot of pushback, and sometimes, and this is my new word, fierce. Sometimes the attacks are fierce,
Mm.
and I'm like, why? And immediately, it dawns. Why? Well, because you need to grow. You need to grow in Christ, and you need to help this church grow in Christ. And if there's opposition and it's hard, it is because the enemy's afraid of what's about to happen, because of what God is about to unleash, and it's going to be amazing. If we believe, if we believe in God, and that doesn't make us immune to suffering, and that doesn't make us immune to attacks. No, not at all. It just makes us, it just gives us the knowledge that we're not alone in this. And that no matter where we walk, how we walk, God is with us at all times. So the enemy can attack. The enemy can do a lot of things. And life, okay, to all those that don't like about religion, okay, let's talk about life. Life is going to happen,
Mhm.
whether you like it or not. It's how you react to that that's going to determine your growth level. My growth level always grows because I always know that God is with me. In sales, when I was in the Marine Corps, in every aspect of my life now, I can say that God is the one that has made me a better person because He allowed those things in my life, and I know He's always been with me.
How does the school for a pastor look like?
Hard.
Is it?
Well, actually, I got my bachelor's 2014, um, and it's funny because when I took 3 years. I started back in 2002. It took 3 years, and then I stopped. Life happened. So then in 2012, I had to come back, and I had to redo. I actually did So it was 2011. I actually did 3 years again.
Wow.
Um, and I'm like, okay, I want my master's. I want to eventually get my doctor's degree, my doctoral. Don't know if that's gonna happen, but I was offered the opportunity to study for my master's, and I said, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. My wife's like, when are you gonna have time? I'm like, I don't know, but uh, I'm gonna get this done. So really, it's just going more into depth into the Bible. I mean,
Mm.
we don't scratch the surface; we remove the surface, and we go in deep. And a lot of things, I mean, 19 years. I mean, a lot of the things I already know. It's just I always come into anything wanting to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I never believe that I'm the smartest guy in the room. I never believe that I'm the guy that has all the answers. I am never that guy. I'm always, I want to learn from you. I always want to learn because I know God has so much more than my tiny little mind could ever encompass. So it's just amazing. And it's funny because I lost my homework and I had to redo it, and I should have turned it in yesterday. So I am sorry, but I cannot turn in my homework. He never responded, so I assume he's good with it. Uh, so I'm redoing it, and I have to turn it in tonight. Here's the funny part: I got a lot of it the first time I did it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting something more this time that I'm doing the same thing, and that is something
Mm.
so awesome that
Right.
I've read the same verses many times, and there's always more, and there's always more, and God's always allowing us. If we allow God to teach us, He will, and He will fill us with more and more and more. I always want more. I never get enough of God. Never get enough of God because He's just awesome. He's just amazing.
How many years is required for schooling?
It's the same. It's 4 year bachelor's, 2 year master's, doctorate. I don't know. I'm not even gonna find out. I'm not even gonna find out because if I find out, I just might.
So, do you consider a big advantage now that you have your own church, or before did you just want to be a pastor of a church and now you want your own church?
It has always been my passion to lead my own church. It's always been my passion to be the lead pastor. Um, Honestly, when I came to Dallas, I really kind of gave up, and
Okay.
that's kind of sad for me to say, but I almost kind of gave up because I was I was raised a certain way in church, in the Christian church, and when I came here, it's different. El Paso church and Dallas church are very different. I had never been to a mega church before in my life. Well, like once, but not like here where there's 20 in the
Mm.
general vicinity. Um, and I remember telling my wife one time we went to a really large Hispanic church, a really large mega church. I was so happy with the worship and everything. The whole experience was awesome, and I was crying. And my wife looked at me, and she's like, "I'm so glad to see you happy." And then when everything stopped, I got sad. She's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I will never be able to be part of that in this church because I'll always just be somebody warming up a chair."
Mm.
And it was about a year that I started declining, and not in my faith. Okay, that never declined, but in my dreams and my aspirations to be the lead pastor of a church, that's what started to decline. And God is so awesome because He opened up the opportunity to go to a church that I would normally have not gone to, but because of that, I was able to take a small group,
Mm.
turn it into a church that eventually now is its own entity, its own name, and it stands alone, and it is something that's growing, something that's alive, something that's awesome. Um, it, it, it's it's just amazing, and I love it. I never went to school to be a pastor. I went to school for me.
Mm.
Right now, it's for me.
Mhm.
It's not for the paper on the wall, even though it looks really nice on the wall. I'll tell you that. It looks really nice on the wall, but that's all it does. It's just an ornament. Um, the real blessing is just serving people. The real blessing is just being genuine. The real blessing is really helping people in whichever way you can. That's that's where my heart lies.
What is the goal of Conexion Church?
The goal, our goal is to really be that church that's gonna grow. And I always want to be accessible. As the lead pastor, I always want to be accessible. But here's I'm going to share this, and I've shared this with the leaders, with some of the leaders. But we just recently moved to Plano, as you know. My goal is to move to Allen within the next 2-3 years, and I'm praying for our own building. I'm praying for our own location that we can call home, and I'm praying for something big. I don't pray for something small. I don't believe in small prayers, okay? Because if you're asking the biggest being, the true God, you're asking for something small, okay, that's easy. Asking for something big, that's easy too, because He's God. What I want to do is grow from there. I want to have a church, grow churches out of there to McKinney, to leave somebody in charge in Plano, and just grow our influence spiritually around our community. And our community is all of Dallas. That's our community. So, and that's a pretty big area. Uh, we want to make a difference. I know that there's a lot of tradition out there. I'm not teaching tradition. I'm not preaching tradition. Tradition is good, but that doesn't save. Jesus saves. I want to teach people the Bible. I want them to know and understand really what it is they believe. We just finished off that series of Romans, and you were there for every single one of them, so you know it was pretty rough subjects. Mm-hmm. It was pretty tough because the Bible is very clear in what it is we are to believe, and it also doesn't always fit our narrative, but it's God's. So there's a lot of things. I want to grow a church that is really going to teach people, that is going to help people, that is going to make a difference and an impact in our communities, that is going to reach out, that is going to be the one church that people are like, there's a lot of churches, but I want to go to that one. And it's not going to be because of me, because I'm going to have a lot of pastors that are going to be running these churches. I just want to reach everybody that we can. I told you right now the first time that I preached, and I was praying 19 years ago. I was praying to God and saying, God, what do you want me to tell them? And I'll never forget this. I clear as day, and it's in my head. I heard it in my head. It says, I want you to tell them that they need to pray and ask God for every single person that they see. Not just the ones you like, every single person. Here's the reason why. Because He died for everybody. And a lot of times we get complacent, we get comfortable, and we forget that our job, our calling is not just to be saved and to know that we're going to heaven when we pass. Our job is to help those that don't know. Our job is to help those that know, but yet they are reluctant to. And we can do that with our testimony. We can do that. There's people that I know that have listened to me, people that see our broadcast, that have very many options, but they listen to us because they know that we're not judgmental. They know that we are not there to judge them in any which way or form. We're there to help them and teach and really love on people. God loved us so much that He died on the cross for us. He came to this earth, took a heavenly body, a humanly body, and He died on that cross for us because He cared so much for us. As far as I know, He's the only one who's done that. Actually, I know the answer, and He's the only one who's done that. So it's a matter of, yeah, we want to get big, but not for getting big. We're not ever going to be that church that we want to get big to get rich. No, that's not about that. Not at all. We want to get big because that means that people are getting saved. That's what it's about. There's a lot of misconception out there. There's a lot of misunderstanding of what the church really stands for, and I understand that some people do have the wrong intentions. Some people do have the wrong motives. I just pray that He keeps me humble every step of the way, and that He allows me to really fulfill His purpose in my life. by doing whatever I have to do for him.
Yeah, you know, now that we moved into this new facility and helping move everything around, I've never realized how much work it takes.
It
And
does.
for one person, you know, for let's say if you want to do it by yourself, that takes a lot of work. And I think that's what a lot of people also don't see. That, you know, and then when people show up and you see their faces, and it just, even despite all that work, it's good to see them leave out of there with a good mood, with,
That's right.
you know, ready for the day. Because even sometimes when you're feeling a little bit edgy or you're having a rough morning, when you go into that environment filled with, you know, with happy people, and then you get, you know, the word of the God, and you walk out of there as a better person.
Hmm.
You walk out of there with a better mood. Now you are ready to take on the day,
That's right.
and that's a big. I think it's a big benefit.
It is, and I say it often. I say, don't walk out of here walking in the same way you walked in. I mean, if you do that, you just might as well just sit down and cover your ears because I see it as impossible unless you really don't want to listen to anything. And sometimes I'm gonna offend people. Sometimes I'm gonna say things that people don't want to hear. The people are just like, oh well, that doesn't apply to me. I don't want to hear it. I am sorry if it's hurting. God's tugging at your heart, and it's not to be mean. It's not to be judgmental. It's to help you grow. It's to help you become the person that God created you to be. I believe that everybody has that potential. I believe that everybody has that ability, and it's already been given to each and every single one of us. We just got to reach it. And a lot of people never reach it because they're missing that one part. They'll do great with their home. They'll do great with their finances, with their work. But God, they want to leave out. And you can't leave out the guy who made everything.
Right. And it all comes together, right?
It all
Your
comes together.
family, your spiritual life, your career life. Once you have all that, then you're in a pretty good place.
That's right. That's right. That's where we want to get to.
Yeah. Thank you, Pastor Luis. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless.
Bye, everybody.